Okay, I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of our Board of Siuslaw for July 17th. First, I would need approval of the minutes. Does everybody have a chance to read the minutes?
I was not present.
No, you were not present, but we're happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that the minutes of the Wednesday, July 17 meeting be approved as mailed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So be it. Next is a time when the public gets to come talk to us. So if you've signed up on the sheet, you will be limited to 5 minutes. And I'm happy to have you all here. It's nice to have a full house. So,
first is Margaret Dillon.
I'm here to talk about this insurance thing you guys are trying to put through. How do you insure a boat for $300,000 when it's not worth $300,000? And the insurance policy's got to be your name on it, the port's name on it. That's like me telling you to go get $300,000 insurance on your automobile, and I want my name on it. It's the same thing. And Bill, you should be ashamed of yourself. You and John Scott. You guys been trying for a lot of years to get the fishermen out of here. You can't do it one way, so you're trying another. That's all I gotta say.
thank you.
Next is Charlene Martin.
Hi, I'm Charlene Martin, and my husband and I own the Silver Sand Dollar. It's a business on Bay Street. And I'm a little different vein than the rest of the world. But I want to say thank you to Mr. Cable. You invited us specifically to come, so we came. And I thought I would share with you, with the rest of the board, things that you may or may not be aware of. And as an Old Town member and a business owner, you have to know how much we appreciate the port and all that it's done to support the events that are happening that are beneficial to both Old Town and the port. And if you're not aware of them, you can ask us, we'll tell you. It's lots of different events. And I want to appreciate Mr. Forsyth's vision and support for the Chamber of Commerce and his participation in Old Town committees. He's attended most every meeting, and he stepped up to the plate to enhance the port and the port properties in Old Town. And we're a beneficiary of that, and we see it across the street from us at Moe's and ICM and just in general, the dock and so forth. And that's huge for the rest of us who are in business, because without all of the beauty, we've got nothing. And people come to see that. They come to see us too, and I'm really grateful for that. But it really has made a difference, and I just want you to be aware that that has happened.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We agree with you. We need our port, and we need our commercial fishermen, and we hope to keep it that way.
Next is David Sweeney.
Good evening, folks. Mr. Fleener, congratulations. I understand you're the new Prudential broker in town. Very good. First of all, I would like to speak about the rules and regulations, which is part of what Margaret was just referring to. And under vessel access, licensee grants the port free access at all times to the vessel for purposes of inspection and compliance. I'm sorry, I do not grant you permission to board my vessel ever, unless it's an emergency situation. Okay? Now, and then I'll go on a little bit further here under number 7, waivers and responsibilities. The port virtually waives all responsibilities for whatever happens to my boat, whether it's done by an act of God or an improperly fastened dock that wrecks my boat. And then you want us to get $300,000 worth of liability. Okay, I don't have a big problem with that because I have a fiberglass boat and it's insurable, where many of the fishing boats are not insurable any way, shape, or form. But I can meet that goal. However, when you state that I am required to carry an additional $300,000 in pollution insurance. Now, I called Coastal Insurance here, and he has yet to get back to me because we're trying to figure out if there is even such a thing. I don't know how you can expect me to insure your port for $300,000 in pollutions when there's enough pollution coming right out of the storm drains that have already killed crabs. And I wish Walt was here. He could give you a whole list of fish that it's killed. Not my boat. And if I did spill diesel in the bay, you'd charge me to clean it up, and the Coast Guard would fine me. And there's no insurance that would cover me because I would be found negligence. So you're $300,000. Nobody in their right mind will ever sign this agreement. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Twombly?
Hi, I'm David Twombly. I want to address what we talked about when we were talking about buy local last time, and there's some ethics things that I think are necessary to bring up so you recognize what I mean when I'm talking about a local business. So I'm going to give you a little history. When I came in and started my business, my competition was not providing the service the port wanted. So that's how I got invited to the first port meeting, was by the members of the Port Commission. And no, it's not written down anywhere because we look for it, but I was told 13 years ago if I always provide service that's quality service at the lowest price that I could provide it to legally, that I would always be picking up the port. So ethically I stood by that. Well, recently my competition came and said, hey, listen, we will give you discounted rates on porta potties if you change garbage service. I got a letter in the mail, and I know this is true because when I called and said, hey, what is this letter? You're going to change garbage services? I said, what is this? I said, is it a service problem? No, it's not a service. It's completely, purely economical. And I said, I'm going to ask again, is this about my service or is it economics? It's economics. I said, well, what do you mean? They said, well, the other company is going to provide porta potties at a discounted rate if we change garbage companies. So I came in here and I thought, okay, I'm going to take the high road. I want to talk about the ethics that goes on in the leadership of the port here as far as management. I want to talk about what was offered to me and committed to me, and the fact that I am a local business. I'm not stationed out of town. I have a secretary that's in town. If you call a phone number, it rings in Florence, it doesn't ring in Coos Bay. If you want to talk to a real manager, it doesn't mean you have to go down all the way to Curry County. I'm right here. That's what local is. It means that you're talking to somebody here you can come see right away. You're not talking to somebody not even in our district. So I thought, okay, I'll take the higher and do that. And in the interim, they said, okay, we're not going to change garbage service because it came to the Port Commission. And then I was told, myself and one of my drivers told the same thing, well, we're going to get bids from other porta potty companies. And if those porta potty companies come in lower than their discounted rate, then you'll get to stay in here and pick up the garbage. Well, obviously, that's not what happened. The other porta potty businesses had no incentive to offer that much of a discounted rate, so it remained with Waste Connection. So is that, in a form, if you look it up by definition, that's actually racketeering. So the question is do you want to deal with non-local businesses that don't care how they pull you in? Or are you going to take the high road and say, no, ethically, we want to buy local. Ethically, we want to buy from a business that isn't trying to find shortcuts to cheat their way through the door. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, David. We'll take it under consideration.
That's all.
So anybody else? That's it? Okay. We will move on to our financial statements. Everybody had a chance to go through the expenses and checks and pounds and, yes, Bill?
I wasn't here last month, and I was curious as to what was the end of the year net proceeds. Do you remember? We
I don't
showed
have it off the top
a
of my head.
positive bottom line.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The first month we were showing minus
Well, I
13.
can go in the other room, and, I mean, if I would have known you wanted that, I would have gotten it for you, but yes,
No, I
we
just
were,
wanted- I just wanted
we were
to-
ahead.
Okay, very good. I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and ratify the bills paid, $212,536.28.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Okay, under old business, number 1 is a discussion of David Twomley's request for the buy local resolution. You're back again today, and I think that we will table it for another month unless the board has other, yes, Bill?
I'd like to ask the manager to perhaps come back next month and talk to us about the state procurement rules and what our limitations and opportunities are. Because I think that he's working under those confines and that the state kind of trumps what we can do here locally. And I'd like to know what range of opportunities we have within that system.
Right.
So if that's possible.
That's absolutely possible.
I would think we could make a recommendation that we do buy local every chance we get, but it is the manager's decision for as far as vendors goes. And we have a job to do and he has a job to do, and we don't want to cross lines. We're not going to micromanage the manager's job, so we will discuss it again next month.
He also has to work within the state procurement rules, otherwise we would be in violation. So there's a certain range that the manager has, but we have to stay within that. And I would really appreciate a greater understanding of what that range is as we move forward.
Sure. I'd like to question, at what point do we decide whether it becomes a policy or operational? Is it a policy that we do business with our vendors until we're discontented?
I don't think that's the policy of the board.
That's my question. Is it a policy or is it operational?
It's operational, but we can make recommendations to him, and it's up to him whether he follows our recommendations or not, as long as he's doing his job here. Yes, Bill?
And I agree with the chairman that within the recommendations, we're giving them sideboards within our own context, but the state imposes their sideboards on us.
True.
So we have to be cognizant of the sideboards that he is working under as we're giving him recommendations. And that's what I'm asking him to do, is come back and give us the latitude of what he can work within.
And I agree with that. I think we need to know what the latitudes that the state require us to work under are. But I just had a question to ask, is it policy or operational?
Mm-hmm.
So
It's operational. Okay, moving on, we have to approve the new list of definitions for ordinance 4.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I spent some time today going over this, and I'm not sure whether this is ready for prime time. It'll probably take us at least an hour to go over all of the proposed changes, corrections, and edits that I have, and I'm certainly willing to do that right now, or I can hand this back to manager and let him bring it back next month. But there are some issues here with language. As you can see, I've got this quite marked up, and it will take us quite a while to go through this.
I see you did your homework.
So,
Are you looking at just the definitions that they're proposed, or the whole ordinance?
well, the definitions, each one, there's quite a few that are new that I would like to discuss, and there are some that are old that have been changed that I'd like to discuss. And there's some words that have been used in here that I think we need to be careful when you talk about danger, using imminent as the adjective to describe danger. I think imminent is not part of danger. Danger is danger. So there's a lot of issues in here with the words, and I would be able to spend a little time with the management to go over this, and then perhaps next month this might be ready for a discussion.
It's fine with me, it's fine with the rest of the commissioners.
I'm okay.
Good.
Okay, we'll table that until next month.
So I will work with
Yeah, work down
management
the
to go over all of
bring out a
the...
new one, and we'll look
Yeah.
over it again. Item 3, discuss Commissioner Cable's action plan. You still have something going on that, Jay?
My action plan is, as I read it last time, I'm willing to stand right beside it and think that it's something that needs to go forward.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Since I was missing last month, my mother was sick and I had to
Yeah.
take care of her. What exactly is the action plan as you proceed?
You had a statement that you read. Do you have a
Yes.
copy of that?
I have that in the minutes.
It's in the minutes.
Okay.
It's-
So is this something that you would like the board to discuss during a public conversation? Or
Well, I don't
is this
care when it
more of
gets
a-
discussed, just as long as we get something heading in those directions.
Would you consider this more of a strategic planning opportunity where we have a special meeting that may last 3 or 4 hours where we can really go into the details?
It's fine. Either way, as long as we get something going.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I would like to either make a motion or a suggestion that we schedule a strategic planning session sometime in the near future whereby we meet and schedule half a day.
Well, I don't think we need a half a day. It's 3 simple points that pretty easily discussed and hammered out. It's not, it's not rocket science.
Right.
It's pretty straightforward. Get boats in the harbor, get the port fixed up, get our employees working 7 days a week.
Absolutely,
Easy stuff.
but there's so many interdigitating points here that we have to touch upon.
Well, you can interdigitate them all you want, but it's really not that difficult. It's just, get the port heading in the direction that the port should be going in. I mean, I think that's why we were elected as commissioners, was because the general public, the people that own this boat, if you will, aren't convinced that the boat is heading in the right direction. And the owners of the boat, if you will, who are the people that reside in this district, I feel, want the boat heading in a different direction. And I believe that's why we were, there was this wholesale change in leadership. And it's not rocket science. It's a change in the way we head the boat. And I think the boat was going in the same old direction with the same old leadership, and the people out there, the people that own the boat, are saying, no, we want to go in a different direction. And that's basically what this is about.
I certainly appreciate that, and I just want to make sure that we proceed in a logical process that is going to give us the most efficient and effective use of our time as a board. And one of the things I'd like to ask Mr. Chair is the manager's advice as to what he thinks that we should do as a process. Because to me, this is a process. How do we process this to where we get the maximum benefit for the time that we
Sure.
put in? Mr. Manager.
First, a strategic meeting is not bad. Work sessions are always, the ones that we've had have always been fruitful. Some of the shortcuts, though, that could happen is that Nancy, Ron, and Bill are the only ones that have been in my office since you guys were elected 45 days ago. You haven't come in to talk to find out some of the answers to what you read the other day. They're very short and sweet. Some of them are not commission issues and won't be decided by the commission. They're operational.
Well,
And they'll be decided by me. So, but until you understand why they were made, what the decisions were, the depth and breadth of those decisions, I don't think you can really put together an opinion on something that you have not fully got all the facts from. And so I would suggest first, before we do a strategic meeting, I mean, we should do one anyway, because those are really good to have. It builds,
Yes, we should.
builds camaraderie, it really gets into the depth of things. But I would appreciate, before we head off into that meeting, that the two of you get in here. It takes probably, a good hour or two a month preparing for this meeting, just understanding the daily operations and what's going on and what we're doing, all of the issues that from Brookings to Lincoln City that we deal with. So anyway, that's just a suggestion, but I think it would help with, up until the point, and then get our meeting going, that we could really, I think it would really be a great idea to have a strategic planning.
I think we should, because we need to move
Yep.
the port in a different direction, or back towards more commercial fishing, supporting the commercial fishermen more, I think. That's in my opinion.
So,
And
Mr. Chair, I'm just trying to figure out the process by which we can do this.
Yes,
And
me
that's-
too. I'm having the same problem. I'm new at this job.
Yeah.
Man, I'd like to get some things accomplished, but it's hard to do sitting here in the meeting with a camera on you, trying to figure out what you can say and what you can't say. So I'm
Welcome to
learning.
the world of politics.
Yes. I do
My-
believe a strategic meeting with the manager and the five of us would be very good for all concerned, and then maybe we can get some concrete ideas that come out of this that we can maybe make some changes or at least know where we're going, the direction we're going to go in. Yes, Bill?
I am all for positive change, absolutely. I just want to make sure that when we're advancing forward, we're not actually doing harm to the district. There is nothing that is so burning that we have to make a immediate hard left or a hard right. We need to be, in my opinion, we need to be very careful, analyze the situation, make sure we know what we're doing, where we're headed, the consequences of those decisions. So I would like to respectfully request that we take it slow. We've got plenty of time, and I'm not talking years, I'm talking a couple of 3 or 4 months, just to understand where we're all coming from, what's going on, what are the issues, what can we do, what can't we do. I just beg your participation in making this a very logical, well thought through process.
I have no problem whatsoever with going through a process. I have been in this port for 5 years now, and I've seen it degenerate. I've looked out at the RV park out there, and nothing has improved. My feeling is that the voters put me in because they felt that I was a person and that Terry was a person and Ron and Nancy possibly were people who had a vision for what this port could be. And that they saw with the old commission that it was just going down the same old road day after day, day after day, and nothing was being changed. And you can analyze this thing to death. And I appreciate you saying that we need to analyze, we need to make sure that the choices we make are wise choices. But we need to get something going. Winter is just around the corner, and we're going to have another empty campground, we're going to have another empty port, and nothing is going to happen. And we need to make some changes. We need to make some real changes in the way this thing works. And I think that's why we're elected. I think that what we were commissioned to do is to see this port improve, not continue to degenerate.
Mr. Chair, I'm not willing to make these changes until I feel that all of our commission is on board, visiting with the manager. I have been in here several times and I still do not know all of the things that are going on. It's a long process. It's stuff that you need to know to make decisions, to make them the right way. I just do not want to go flying through and trying to tear up everything that has been. If there's some drastic changes, do them slowly so that people can work at it and be on board with it instead of just making another upheaval.
Sometimes upheaval's good.
Mr. Chair, this is the second meeting I've been to that the plan of action is going to be tabled. I don't know if I can take it 3 times. We need to change the name. We need to do something. We're sitting here listening to 2 tenants out there that are dissatisfied. Why aren't we discussing that? Let's discuss the letter. I mean, we can sit here and analyze and talk how we're going to do it. Let's eat the apple one bite at a time and start figuring out what. I honestly feel that the problem we're having here is the operational is stepping into the policy making and not separating the two. We need to find out, is that operational, is that policy? The letter they got, did that come from policy? Did that come from operational? Is there something we can do to assure these people that they aren't going to be evicted?
Well, quite frankly, the line between operation and policy can be real squishy.
It can be.
And
it's up for us to decide?
It certainly is. you know, in any situation where there's a board and commissioners, there are managers who want total autonomy, and there are commissioners who want micromanagement, neither of which are productive.
No.
And I hope we have neither of those here. And that's a line that can sometimes be difficult to be drawn as to which is actually operational and which is policy. There's no line in the sand that says this is one, this is the other.
And you know as well as I do that you probably received as many complaints or concerns over some of the operations as I have. Just this last week, I got a half dozen phone calls over the letter. So when that becomes an issue to us, that's when we need to step in as a board and say, what's going on here? Is this policy? We need to define what's going on here.
And once again, you know, I think we need to turn to Bob and say, you know, is this something that this port has come up with as, you know, as a way to drive the boats away, or as a way to protect the harbor, or is this something that the state has mandated, or you know, where is it coming from?
That's
So,
my question.
so to answer your question, I guess, Terry, I hate to say it, I think we really do on this case need to maybe table this again and get some information. Is this something the state is saying you must do, or is this just something that we're coming up with?
Can we just ask Bob right now? He's sitting right there. Why did we get the letter?
What are we, I mean, we're dancing around a lot of topics right now.
Well, there was a letter that says that all the boats have to have $300,000 liability insurance, $300,000 pollution insurance, from what I understand.
How does that dovetail into your action plan?
Well, it doesn't. It goes, we got off topic a little bit. We're going into the policy operation issue, and quite frankly, we segued.
Yeah.
And
so what I was getting at earlier, and this is a good example, is that when we start talking about the strategic plan, believe me, I've been in a lot of these sessions at the county level, at the Central Lincoln PUD, and it's like there are so many different strands that we're going to be following that are all interconnected. I said interdigitated. They're all interconnected. So when you pull one, something else is going to happen over here. That's why we have to be very intelligent about what we're doing. We have to be aware. We have to be knowledgeable. And to jump in here and just start making wholesale changes, which might be absolutely justified, I think we need to be very careful not to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And that's why, Terry, I think we need to take our, not a lot of time, just take a little time.
Well, you got people, tenants threatening to leave.
I understand that, but at the same time, if we make a decision that is going to put the port in harm's way, if we put the citizens in a high liability position, we're not doing any justice to the citizens. So there's a give and take here. And I agree with all of you guys that, yes, we need to make some change, but we need to be careful. Because sometimes what you wish for, you later regret. So just...
I'm not arguing with your...
I understand that.
You know,
This is not an argument. This is just a discussion.
No, I'm not disagreeing that with your wanting to have a planning session. I think that I don't think there's any other way. I just don't want it to be planned to death.
I understand. So this is why
that's my
Absolutely.
just my conversation.
and this is why we need to give the manager clear direction as to what our intent is with respect to our planning, strategic planning mission. What is exactly do we want to accomplish? And then that's going to give him a greater opportunity for us to succeed.
And I think maybe the confusion is when you use the word strategic plan, because we have a strategic plan.
True.
And this isn't that.
No.
This is something else.
Okay.
They go together, but they're two different operations.
Right. So
I really think we should have a strategic meeting amongst the five of us and the port manager, so we can sit down and discuss all these things and come up with a plan or of action or of non-action, whatever we decide at the time, to see if we can get the port moving in a different direction, and look in deeply into these the $300,000 letter and a few other things.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
will there be Since neither of you have been in to visit with the manager, are you going to be able to do that so that you have some background?
I
I know you've been on the river. I know you do that, but you have not been in talking to him.
I've been in communication with his office, and in all honesty, I don't feel I need to answer that question right now, right here. I just don't.
Why not?
Why not?
You don't need to respond to the
You need
audience.
to respond to the audience.
Please don't.
Otherwise we get into a
I have been in, well, I don't mind responding to the
Yeah,
audience, and
just
I
Terry,
will.
don't.
Please.
I've been in contact with the office, and that's not my issue, is with the office. And to answer your question, I don't have to answer to you, honestly. And that's just how I feel.
Well, what about the insurance for this body? If we don't all walk in here with a background or a foundation of knowledge to, because there are actions that could happen here that we could be liable for, and I'm not sure I'm willing to take on a liability for something that's done without.
I think your concerns are unfounded at this time. I'll put it that way, Nancy. So,
Well,
thank you for your concern, but I think it's unfounded at this time. I have been in contact with the office, and that's not my issue. So,
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Nancy does touch upon an important point, which, considering what I've gone through as a county commissioner, I'm certainly not willing to put myself through a extended period of litigation for frivolous lawsuits based upon what my colleagues have done out of either ignorance, spite, or deliberate action. And I'm concerned that unless we have some methodology here that brings all of us into compliance with the minimum requirements of the state, and also with respect to the insurability of the port, I believe this is a very important topic. Otherwise, we're going to end up in potential personal liability, where our assets are going to be attacked. I've been in that position. I don't want to do that again. So, Terry, with all due respect, my assets are being compromised by actions of other commissioners.
what action have I posed upon?
Nothing, none yet.
Then I think your concern is unfounded, Bill.
Okay. I'm just.
If I have a conversation with Mr. Forsyth here at this meeting, it's on record.
Mhm.
It's coming from me.
Mhm.
And I don't think there's a problem with that.
There is no problem with that, absolutely.
Thank you.
However, there are certain nuances that one needs to be aware of within the public open meetings law and open records law. And those nuances will certainly come back and cause,
I'm aware of that.
okay,
All right, we need to go forward. We need to accomplish something. I think that we should set a date for a strategic meeting for the five of us to sit down with the manager and staff, or with who, and sit down and discuss some of these issues and see if we can go forward. Does anybody have a date preference?
As long as it's in the evening, I'm good.
Huh?
As long as it's an evening
Evening
meeting, I'm
meeting?
good.
Is that going to be open to the public?
it always is.
Always is.
Yes, it would be.
Um,
How about next Wednesday? Or is that too soon?
next
You'll be in Lincoln
Wednesday,
City.
I'll be,
He'll be gone.
he'll be
Oh.
gone. That's why we're meeting
Yes,
tonight.
how long are you gonna be laid up?
probably 2 weeks.
2 weeks? What about the 28th? Is that long enough?
Is that a Wednesday?
That is a Wednesday again.
Of August?
28th of August, yeah.
No, 2 weeks from the 23rd.
Your math is bad.
Okay, we'll go to, I can't do it on the 4th myself. I could do it on Thursday, the 5th.
What are we talking about here? Morning?
We're talking an
afternoon,
evening meeting.
An evening meeting?
Yes,
And 7 until,
7 till 9 or whatever. I think we
I
covered
don't think we
everything.
have to do it all in one meeting. I think we can.
A couple hours though would
Plow some
really
ground
open the
and-
door a
yeah,
lot.
yeah.
the last strategic, I wouldn't say meeting, but strategic session that the board had, it lasted about 6 hours.
Like I say, we don't have to do it all one night.
So we're looking
And
at
like I say,
September.
Yeah.
it's not rocket science.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
set
think
it
we
up
have
for
to.
Thursday, September 5th, unless someone has a problem, then let me know.
September 5th here at,
At 7 o'clock.
Mr. Chair, how should the management prepare for this meeting? What direction should we give them to set the stage so that we have the proper opportunity? I mean, we need to give some direction to management as to how we're going to conduct this meeting and what are the objectives, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just trying to...
Yes, you are.
I want to make sure that we have something we're going to accomplish. Mr. Commissioner Cable, what would you like to see first and foremost on the list?
incentives to bringing more boats into the harbor.
You cover that?
And then number 2 would be the campground.
And specifically within the campground, what are we looking?
Improvements in the campground,
Yes.
so that it's not, so that it becomes a destination rather than just people here to fish.
So between now and that time, management, are you able to come up with a an analysis?
We can fill 2 hours with those topics easily.
Okay. And I'd like to see a complete analysis, the pros and cons and what we've done, where we've gone.
You'll get with,
Okay.
you'll get what we have, the capability of our computer system to
Okay.
show you.
Okay.
And I think it will be satisfactory.
Okay.
Okay.
So those 2 topics?
Sure.
Okay.
And if anybody has anything else, if you would email it to me and I will present it to the port, and because I think there are other issues that some of us have.
Mhm. Well, I think this is going to segue into your commercial fishing task force,
Well, that's it,
because it
that's,
seems to me like
it's all
they're
the same thing, yes.
Interdigitation.
interdigitated.
Yes. That may be what we form out of this
It's-
meeting, is a task force to look into, to helping bring more commercial boats into here.
It's kind of like taking a fish hook out of a bowl of fish hooks. I mean,
Yeah, I guess
it's
so.
like everything comes up at the same time, and that's where I think that going to
Mr.
that.
Analogy.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, that wasn't a compliment.
The fishing task force, I think, is probably not a bad idea as we move forward, and I'm going to absolutely support that.
Okay, moving on, we're at number 5, other items by the commission.
Well, we're not going to talk about the task force, or is that going to be part of the strategic plan?
That's one of the fish
That's going
hooks.
to come out of that, I'm pretty sure. That's all part of the same.
Okay.
So number 5, is there any other issues that the commissioners would like to bring up?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to discuss the commercial lease agreements that are, I believe that they're being terminated at the end of this month, August.
They're being terminated at the end of each lease period.
Okay. And I think you stated previously in another meeting that that was an operational decision, and
It is, yes.
I'm just, I guess I'm a little confused because there is a resolution that guarantees that they have commercial space available. I mean, I give you the number. I mean, I'd like to know what decision, why we decided to not renew the leases.
Some of those decisions need to be discussed, not at this deliberation, at this board meeting. They need to be discussed because there are things behind the decisions that you need to know and that you need to hear and that cannot be brought up in public at this time. They will be eventually, but they can't be done this time. This is why we need to have these conversations.
I'm not sure what decision, honestly, Bob,
Well, that's why you need to come and sit down and
behind
learn
closed
what
doors,
they have
don't let
learned.
anybody else hear.
She has heard it, he has heard it, he has heard it, the previous commission has heard it. There are certain confidentialities that go along with your job that you're gonna have to maintain, and you need to hear what those are. Everything that this board does is not
Open.
right. While there are open meeting laws, while there are Freedom of Information Acts, there are still certain things, if you read through all of the information that we gave you, that are through and confidential, and especially when they touch other parts of business.
Mr. Chair.
Did you ask? Speak.
Yeah, if you're finished.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It kind of boils down to, are we running this as a business? And I'm not talking about just a private business, I'm talking about adhering to the law. And there are certain responsibilities that we have as commissioners, as managers, as staff, that we have to perform, whether we like it or not. And some of these things kind of rub me the wrong way too. You know, I like to have everything open. But for instance, Terry, if we were going to acquire a large piece of property somewhere, and we make this known well in advance, some speculator could come in and buy property around that and make a bundle of money. So the state has given us the opportunity to have executive sessions to talk about acquiring land in order to eliminate the speculation and thus serve the public well-being. So there are a lot of examples of where we have to have certain constraints with respect to how we make decisions. And you know, it's difficult sometimes. But again, we go back to, if we're going to run this like a business, we need to think in terms of how do we protect the taxpayers of this district from liability. One of the things we do is have insurance. And I'm sure one of the things that's driving the manager's decision to have a $300,000 minimum insurance that the port is also named is a insurance liability issue that is probably coming from the Special Districts Association, which is outside of us, and they're telling us this is the, what is the best term, the business practices, best business practices. So we need, in my opinion, again, I'm not saying anything in your mouths, I believe that we need to follow best business practices as established by our organizations that we belong to, specifically the SDAO, Special Districts Association of Oregon. They represent hundreds of organizations like ours. They've been around for a long time and they give us advice. And I really think that we need to abide by their advice because they've been through the ringer. So I feel that we really need to run this like a business, not in the private sense, to make sure that we are adhering to the laws and that we're protecting the citizens of this district from any liability exposure, and particularly protecting me from liability exposure as we move forward.
I
Thank you,
agree
Mr.
with
Chair.
you, Bill. I think we should run it as a business, but we also are a port district and we need to run it as a port and hopefully a profitable port.
I have no disagreement there.
Okay, let's move on to, I guess, new business. Resolution 08-14-13A, adopting a supplemental budget and appropriating funds.
Mr. Chair, may I
Yes.
ask? For the benefit of our viewers here, whenever there's a change in our